Have you ever wondered what it would be like if the world had a reset button? Well, thousands of years ago, according to ancient texts, that's exactly what happened. This is the story of Noah's Ark, a tale of faith, survival, and a promise that changed the world forever. Our story begins in a time when the world had become a pretty chaotic place. People had forgotten how to be kind, compassionate, and just. But amidst all this turmoil, there was one man who stood out: Noah. The scriptures describe him as a righteous man, blameless in his generation, who walked faithfully with God. He was a good husband, a loving father to his 3 sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, a man of deep integrity. One day, God spoke to Noah. The message was sobering. God saw the state of the world and was heartbroken. A great flood was coming, a flood so immense it would cover the entire earth. But God wanted to save Noah and his family, along with a representation of all living creatures. The instructions were specific and grand. Noah was to build a massive boat, an ark. Imagine getting a divine command like that. Build a boat. Not just any boat, but a colossal vessel, the likes of which the world had never seen. God gave Noah the exact dimensions: 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Now, a cubit is an ancient measurement, roughly the length from an elbow to the tip of the middle finger. So, we're talking about a ship around 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. That's about 1.5 football fields long. It was to be built from gopher wood, with 3 decks inside, and sealed with pitch, a type of tar, to make it waterproof. Noah didn't hesitate. He trusted the command and got to work. Can you picture the scene? Noah and his sons, day after day, sawing wood, hammering planks, and coating the giant structure with pitch. Their neighbors must have thought they were crazy. Here they were, in the middle of dry land, building this enormous boat. People likely mocked them. Noah, are you expecting a little rain? They might have jeered. Building an ark, when there was yet a cloud in the sky, must have seemed like the ultimate act of foolishness. But Noah's faith was unshakable. He wasn't just building a boat. He was also a preacher of righteousness, warning people about the coming flood and urging them to change their ways. 4 years, possibly decades, the construction continued. The ark slowly took shape, a testament to Noah's obedience and perseverance in the face of ridicule. Then came the next part of the divine plan. God instructed Noah to bring animals into the ark. Not just a few, but 2 of every kind of unclean animal, a male and a female, and 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal. Birds, mammals, reptiles, every living creature that walked, crawled, or flew. Imagine the logistics. This wasn't just rounding up a few farm animals. This was a global gathering of the animal kingdom. And miraculously, they came. The Bible says the animals came to Noah to enter the ark. Lions and lambs, bears and gazelles, eagles and sparrows. 2 by 2, they filed into the massive wooden vessel. It must have been an incredible sight. A parade of creatures big and small, all peacefully making their way into their temporary home. Noah and his family organized them, made sure they had food and space, preparing for the long journey ahead. Once Noah, his wife, their 3 sons, and their wives were all safely inside, along with the entire menagerie, the final step occurred. God himself sealed the door of the ark from the outside. They were shut in, protected, ready for what was to come. For 7 days, they waited inside the silent ark. The world outside continued as normal. People went about their daily lives, oblivious to the impending cataclysm. Then it began. It wasn't just a rainstorm. The fountains of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened. Water gushed from beneath the earth and poured from the sky. It rained relentlessly, not for an hour or a day, but for 40 days and 40 nights. The water level rose steadily, swallowing up hills, then mountains. Everything outside the ark was washed away. Inside, Noah and his family floated on the rising waters. The ark, once a source of mockery, was now their salvation. It was tossed and turned by the tumultuous waves, a tiny speck on a boundless ocean that covered the entire planet. What must that have been like? The constant sound of rain, the creaking of the wooden beams, the calls of the animals. They were completely cut off from the world they once knew, floating in a new reality. They had to care for all the animals, ensuring they were fed and their living quarters were clean. It was a massive, non-stop job, a daily routine of faith and duty in the midst of a global storm. After 40 days, the rain stopped, but the water remained. For 150 days, the ark drifted upon the face of the deep. It was a long, isolating period of waiting. Finally, God remembered Noah and all the creatures with him. A wind was sent to sweep over the earth, and the waters began to recede. The ark eventually came to rest on the mountains of Ararat, but they couldn't just open the door and walk out. The world was still covered in water. Noah had to be patient. He first sent out a raven, which flew back and forth until the water had dried up. Then he sent out a dove. The first time, the dove returned, finding no place to land. A week later, Noah sent it out again. This time, it came back in the evening with a freshly plucked olive leaf in its beak. This was the sign they had been waiting for. It was proof that the waters had subsided enough for trees to grow again. The olive leaf became a universal symbol of peace and new beginnings. After another 7 days, Noah sent the dove out one last time. It didn't return. The earth was dry enough for it to make a new home. After more than a year aboard the ark, God spoke to Noah again. Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you. Noah opened the door of the ark. He, his family, and all the animals stepped out onto dry, clean earth. A brand new world awaited them. The first thing Noah did was build an altar. He offered a sacrifice to God, an act of immense gratitude for their survival and for the new beginning. God was pleased and made a covenant, a sacred promise, with Noah and all of humanity. He promised that he would never again destroy all life with the waters of a flood. And as a sign of this everlasting promise, God set a rainbow in the clouds. He said, "Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant." So, every time we see a rainbow, it's a beautiful reminder of this ancient story. It's a symbol of hope, of God's promise, and of the second chance given to humanity. The story of Noah's Ark is more than just a tale of a great flood. It's a powerful narrative about faith in the face of doubt, the courage to be different, the importance of obedience, and the incredible grace of a new beginning. It reminds us that even after the most devastating storms, there is always the promise of a rainbow. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the greatest stories ever told. See you next time!
Thank you for watching. God bless you.